It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I am your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. And this show is brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com, got a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You can also, a lot of different services on there. One, we can catch your spouse cheating online. You send us their email address. We trace it back to online dating websites to catch them cheating. Need to collect on child support. We can locate your spouse's or ex-spouse, baby daddy, baby mommy, current place of employment. So you can serve them with papers, income execution, collect on child support. A lot of different things you can do. Locates, people searches, all kinds of fun stuff at emailrevealer.com. Okay. Coming up tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we have Christine J. Hart from the UK. It's going to be like 1 o'clock in the morning her time, so that'll be a lot of fun for her. But she's going to be coming on the show. She's involved in that UK hacking thing with Murdoch. And she knew, who's that guy? I Don't Like Mondays guy from the Boomtown Rats. Bob Geldorf. And he's an interesting character, you know. He's died in a weird, a lot of stuff going on with him. His daughter died. His daughter, Peaches Geldorf, involved with the OTO Crowley. So let's see what's going on with that. You know, Bob Geldorf has his one song about the school shooting in 1972 or something like that, 74. In California. You know, kind of bizarre, the whole thing. So let's see what's going on with that. Okay. Get on with the show. Here. Okay, my notes are all over the place tonight because, last week at the last second, I wasn't expecting to have on that show about Leonard Peltier. I was supposed to record that earlier in the afternoon, but the gentleman who was a guest on the show overslept, so I didn't really do a live show last week. Well, I did a live portion of the show, but it wasn't my kind of show here. Anyway, so today is the day of the Trump inauguration. We have a great orange leader. This is the craziest thing. I've been watching this thing all day long, and I don't even know what to say. What do you even say anymore, you know? If you've been listening to the first portion of the show where we had on Mike Rothmiller, and then we had on Bill Kennison, you probably missed Trump doing this, the president's dance with Melania Trump. Oh my God, Svetlana, whatever her name is, Trump, Natasha Trump. And the guy can't dance. He makes this funny face. He didn't even trim his eyebrows for this. The guy is being inaugurated president of the United States, and no one stops him and says, "Excuse me, Mr. Trump, you need to trim your eyebrows." It's the craziest thing in the world. This is the crazy, and he's dancing with this woman, and she's like, she doesn't have no affection for him. She's like, pulling away from him. This whole thing is such a bizarre scene, like nothing ever before. They have the inauguration parade. There's nobody in the stands are empty. The streets are empty. It's just the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's just the craziest thing. Hey. So let's see here. I got to tell you. This whole Trump business, behind the scenes for you here, right? A lot of the different hosts of these shows, because I'm on a whole bunch of stations, right? So we got all these, every station has a Skype club, all these Skype groups, where we kind of gossip behind the scenes. Well, not just gossip, there's important station business too, but it's mostly gossip and bickering, and stuff going on. A lot of station drama on all these crazy stations, right? So there's this one host who got kicked off one of our stations a long time ago. And he's a big Trump fan. And so everyone kind of listens to his show to laugh at him, He's such a nut. And I got this clip. It's the funniest thing in the world. I'd love to play it, but I'm not looking for enemies. I'm not into getting into these wars, but it's the funniest thing in the whole world. They're talking about Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump. And these are two men having a discussion on live radio in front of people listening. And they're talking about the press conference that Trump did last week. And they're going, he was so masculine. Did you see the masculinity on that stage? Oh, Mr. Trump was so masculine. Oh, my. These are two heterosexual men. These are heterosexual men. Drooling over the masculinity of Mr. Trump. And not even trying to hide it. Not even embarrassed of what they were saying. It was pathetic. And I know people will they'll listen to this and right away the thing is they say you're a snowflake. If you don't like Trump, you're a snowflake. I don't even know what that means. You're a sore loser and you're a snowflake. I don't even know what snowflake means, okay? But it's like the stupidest thing in the freaking world. I can't even believe it. It's like if I have something to report to you about Mr. Trump or Mr. Howell or Mr. Potter, any of those billionaires that we've come to admire. It's funny how, Mr. Trump is orange, but Mr. Potter was black and white. So I guess we're making progress here. Going to make America great again. We're going to make America wonderful again. Mr. Potter was going to make it wonderful again from A Wonderful Life. Hey. But it's amazing that if you report something about Mr. Trump, right away, you'll have these people saying, well, what about Obama? What about Hillary? And to bring up something right. It's like if I got into a car accident with someone, right? I'm sitting at a light, someone comes and rear ends me. They crash into me. And I get out and I says, what's wrong with you? And the light's red. You didn't see me sitting here? And the guy would say, well, you should see the guy who owned this car before me. He hit two people. You know what I'm saying? It's like these people who worship Trump, they don't want to take any responsibility for this man, for his, his con artist tactics and all his bizarre, behavior, just bizarre, wacky behavior. This is just unbelievable. What we're seeing here is kind of terrifying in a lot of different ways. So you got these Trump worshipers, and they're so naive and so pathetic, man. And they think, Trump's going to, day one, he's going to investigate Pizzagate, and he's going to take all these, he's going to round people up. He's going to lynch Hillary Clinton. He's going to go. They really think this. They really think he's going to, round up all the snowflakes, make a big snowman out of them. So, it's just unbelievable. And it's just so sad what's happened to our country here that you can't even have a discussion with people anymore, a reasonable conversation anymore, Like the idea that Trump is going to investigate Pizzagate, if he's going to put ExxonMobil in charge of the foreign policy, and I guess you think that's going to make your gas prices go down, right? I can almost promise you that the price of gas is going to go up in the next 4 years. So by the same token, he'll probably put Jeffrey Epstein in charge of the investigation of Pizzagate. All right? Now, I lost a big job this week, and it was one of those long-term gigs that you take on, like on speculation. You work on it, because at the end there's a big payment. There's a big payday. There's a big lawsuit at the end, or there's something big at the end. big payday at the end. And I bring this up, one, because there's been a theme lately when I've been trying to talk to you and I'm trying to explain to you how when I say that there's some people that are incapable of working and they're unable to function, and a lot of people, you listen to the show, like you work in an office or you work for a city job or something like that, and you look to the right and to the left and you say, well, I go to work every day. I see people working right next to me. Everyone's probably able to work, You assume anybody's capable of doing some kind of job. See, but the thing is, in my line of work, I get exposed to a lot of people, unlike you, that are completely incapable of functioning. And also, too, that even when they get a break, or they get a payday, they sabotage themselves to the point where they lose that payday. So, a lot of people enjoyed the shows I did about, credit reporting agencies and employment screening and different kind of PI tips that I've been given. So I want to kind of just give a little bit of a tutorial, I guess you'd call it, on how to hire a private investigator or how to hire a lawyer, or if you have some kind of problem and you need help and you need to go to the news media, you want to get news media attention on how to go about doing that. Because I get a lot of those calls every single day. I get a lot of those emails every single day. People desperate. They got the biggest problem in the world, and they've been to everyone. I've contacted 100 people, and no one wants to help me with my story. You're the only one who can help me. So, first of all, that's the last thing you want to do. You don't want to go, when you contact someone for help, start telling them how big the problem is and how impossible it is and how you've been to all these other people. Okay, in fact, what you want to do is you want to have a one sheet. You want to reduce your situation, whatever your problem is. You got a potential lawsuit. You got a case that needs media attention. You need some kind of help. All right, maybe you just got arrested for something. You want to have a one sheet, one page, and with short paragraphs describing what the problem is and what you think I can do to help you. Okay, you don't want to send off in that first email or that first letter a 2-inch packet of papers, with unlabeled photographs and copies of emails that make no sense to anybody, that no one can understand what you're sending. All right, because I'll tell you right away when I get that, the first thing I'm going to say is, I need $1,000 to just sit here and read this, and then I'll tell you if I can help you or not. Okay, and that's what anybody's going to say that you send it to. You send it to a lawyer. That's what they're going to first thing they're going to say. So you want me to read this? Give me $1,000. Give me $2,500. So you want to reduce your problem down to one page, okay? So that someone actually reads what you're sending them. And then if they decide to take the case, then when you start talking to them, just a nice short sentence. So keep it short, okay? And you kind of try and offer them some kind of incentive for wanting to help you. Not that your problem is so great. See, so many people, and you think I'm complaining. I'm really not. But so many people come to you. I get this email every single day. Ed, you got to help me. And you got to help me for free. Because my problem is so serious and it's so important that, Ed, you have to work for it for free. It's not so important that I have to come up with the money to pay to solve this problem. It's so important that you have to pay to solve this problem. See, and that's a very unconvincing argument for anyone, okay? So that's not going to work, all right? That's not going to work. Another thing you want to consider is you want to be polite. You don't want to be rude right off the bat, and start insulting people, okay? This seems like basic common sense. And if it was, I wouldn't need to say this, all right? Because I got to tell you. Another thing, too, is, and this is just in general, okay, is when you do finally hire somebody and get them to work for you, you don't want to be one of those people that are contacting them and calling the office at 4 o'clock or 4:30 on a Friday night, right before the office closes, okay? Those people that do that are considered jerks and a nuisance. And likewise, you don't want to be the first one calling up Monday morning at 8 a.m. or, at 8:30 a.m., because your problem's so urgent. Really, especially if it's not, especially if it's just, you don't have a court date coming up, none of that kind of stuff. You don't want to be that annoying person, because trust me, everyone in the audience and the office considers you to be a nuisance at that point, okay? And it just makes things worse for you. Nobody wants to go out of their way for you. Now, in my situation, you don't want to be contacting me in the middle of the night, okay? I can't even use Facebook anymore. I haven't used Facebook in a week. All right, and part of the reason why I had to quit this job is because I get freaking 500 messages on Facebook every day. And I can't even weed out the clients and the guests from all the craziness. So those are some of the things you should consider to kind of benefit yourself if you really do want some kind of help with your problem. I know a lot of people, they got their problem, and they like to think that their problem's the biggest thing in the world and it's unsolvable, and their enemies are the greatest, and they're all involved with the CIA and special forces and hackers and all this kind of stuff. You want to dream that your problem is greater than anybody can solve, when usually it's not. So, one more thing I want to add to. I don't even know what the show is about anymore. This wasn't what I was planning to talk about, but a lot of people will suggest, well, Ed, why don't you just stop reading Facebook, or hire someone to screen out your emails and screen the calls. Since I've started doing this show, you got to understand that the level of craziness out there, it goes way beyond just some comments on Facebook or Twitter or something like that, or even emails. Some rude people think it's like I'm concerned about rude comments. Okay, we've had people associated with this show have been stalked in real life. We've had people associated with the show stalk people in the hospital, on their hospital bed. Okay, so when I try and tell you that the craziness that goes on behind the scenes here is a lot more involved than I ever talk about on the air. I've had the cops involved. I've had the district attorneys involved. There's a lot of stuff going on. And, if you notice my conversation I had last week with the King Tone from the formerly of the Mighty Latin Kings, we were talking about stuff off the air and on the air, and about, is it really worth it going down this road and doing this kind of work? Is it really worth it? First you attract all these lunatics, but then also too, I got to tell you, the stuff I do, I'm on a government enemies list right now. I know I am, because I could tell by different things going on in my life. The kind of stuff that you'd hear about during the Nixon days. So, I don't know. I didn't really plan to go down this road talking about all this stuff. But, I don't know, there it is. I'm really thinking twice about doing all this. I got to tell you the truth, because my business is suffering and the show is suffering. I don't think I can do both at the same time. So we're going to have to figure out some kind of solution to all this. Anyway. One thing I want to tell you about is this guy Ryan O'Neal from the Pizzagate Gear show that was threatened by Elefantis. And as I tried to explain to you after that show, and even during that show a bit, is that I contacted him. I heard his story. I heard he was being threatened, so I inserted myself into that case because I wanted to take down his statement off the air. Doing the show was like an afterthought to do a show. But I wanted to get his statement in case he ran into some trouble in the future, And I do this kind of stuff with hesitation. I don't jump into every kind of thing out there. But from the sound of his situation, I thought he needed some help. And I thought it was important for a professional to go in there and document the facts. for him. But and then you heard, we interviewed him on the air, and you heard us talking about taking a statement off the air. So now you know about that. But what you don't know is I do that kind of stuff. I do that kind of stuff all the time. I'm involved in a lot of stuff, man. Okay? A lot of stuff that I never talk about on the air. And the other thing, too, is even if I did talk about it on the air, 90% of the people listening to this show, it goes in one ear and out the other. I could throw away my career right now, okay, and talk to you about some of the things I worked on this past year that I'm not allowed to talk about. That justify why the things that I come here and try and report to you. I'll say that, throw away my whole career, and 5 minutes later, someone said, "Well, Ed, I know you were involved. I know you know the plaintiff, you know the judge, you know I know you were involved in it. But Ed, here's a YouTube video. Let me tell you what really happened here." Okay, and I bring a guy on there who did a YouTube video. All right, you see the level of investigation this guy's doing, And a lot of these other YouTube guys, I know them. They come to me. They try and hire me for craziness. I'm rambling all over the place. Hey. Yeah. All right, let's just skip all that. Okay. I'm going to have a short show tonight. I'm going to take a commercial break and see if I can pull this together. And now a word from our sponsors. Did you know that 30% of all people on online dating websites and personal ads are either married or in a monogamous relationship? 30%. If you suspect that your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend may be cheating online, go to emailrevealer.com. Our online infidelity investigation. You give us their email address, and we could trace it back to online personal ads, dating sites, and social networks. We can even expand the investigation and find them cheating on escort service sites or even porn sites if they're registered to porn sites and swinger sites. So check out emailrevealer.com if you suspect your spouse is cheating, and check out our online infidelity investigation. William Ramsey is a producer here at the Opperman Report, and he's just come out with a new book, Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. Now, he just sent me a copy of this book. Oh, boy, it's about 2 inches thick, and there's a chapter on just about everybody in this book that you can imagine. The Beatles, and Jack Parsons, everybody's in here. It's incredible. And I definitely recommend this book. There's a bunch of pictures in here, too, of all these people and different chapters and information. Anton LaVey and people I've never heard of, too. There's a whole bunch in here. JFC Fuller. I don't know who he is. But it's great stuff by our producer here, William Ramsey. So check out Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. You can find it on Amazon.com, or you could find it in the Opperman Report.com bookstore. We have an urgent bulletin. It seems that the group Strawman is still on the loose. It has been confirmed that Strawman are Canadian, okay, and that authorities are asking people to stay indoors, lock your doors and windows until this group can be dealt with. You could find more information about this group of Canadians, at strawmanmusic.com. You can have your ad played here. Okay, we're looking for sponsors. Okay, in fact, we desperately need sponsors right now to take this show to the next level. So you can have your your ad played here, read live, like I'm doing now, so artfully. Or we can even work up a little jingle for you with some music and stuff like that and play it here. You have no idea how inexpensive it would be to have your ad played on the Opperman Report on 7 stations live Friday night and another 7 stations live on Saturday night, plus replayed every day of the week on different stations, and then archived on YouTube, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and all different kinds of podcasts, Pod This and Podbean, all different kinds of places who archive the show for us. And on those archives, your ad would play indefinitely, forever. You also get a little banner on OppermanReport.com. You get a mention on the air, you get a little interview on the air, and all kinds of fun stuff if you sponsor Opperman Report. We have an opportunity to get this show on a major AM/FM station in California. We've been approved. So if you want to sponsor us into that, so incredibly inexpensive that your ad would be heard by the range covers 5 million people in population where your ad would be broadcast, and all these other stations would be thrown in for free. So really affordable prices to sponsor OppermanReport.com. Get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You can get a copy of that book at emailrevealer.com, or you can get a copy of that book now. It's back up on Amazon.com. How to Become a Successful Private Investigator by Ed Opperman. And this book has been updated a little bit from the previous book that we had that was available to our wonderful listeners. Okay, welcome back. Welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Okay, check over here. Okay, we're back on here. All right. For most of my life, I didn't do any interviews. Okay? I was involved in a lot of stuff, but I never talked about it at all. And I would get calls from the press and stuff like that, and I'd always turn it down. And when word got out, I was involved in something. And even today, there's a lot of cases, that even certain people in the press know I was involved with. I could talk about it, I guess, but it just wasn't... I like to talk about the ones where it was agreed in the beginning that, it was for the press. Like Tiger Woods and all that kind of stuff, And I saw other celebrity cases and stuff. I've been around high-profile stuff that I didn't go into it that way. I don't mention. But I began doing interviews and stuff like that to talk about my work and my life's experiences, right? And I started doing a show because there's things I know about that I think are important to get out to you. And I've tried my best to do that. A lot of times you can't do it because you can't find a guest to discuss the subject. And I do sometimes I'll do like reporting shows where I just report on what I know about and I'll put together some notes and stuff like that. But I'm doing the best I can, okay, to get this information out to you. And a lot of times you got to go to one show and then listen to another one. And tonight was one of them, by the way. But, okay. But it's to pick up bits from old shows and new shows and put them together to get an idea of what I'm trying to get out to you. Okay, because like I said, I could throw it all away, and tell you everything I know, and 5 minutes later, someone will be telling me, no, that's not what happened. Watch this. That is just so frustrating. Anyway, so now what's going on in my life is I'm working on this stupid show and my things behind the scenes. So I talk about it. This is what I'm talking about. I think it's important for you to know what goes on behind the scenes with these shows. Now, for one thing, you may not have noticed that I've almost entirely stopped promoting future guests until either they're recorded or I know that no one else can contact them. Because what happened was, if I had a guest scheduled, people start stalking the guest, or other hosts from other shows and other stations would start bothering the guest, trying to book them, because they heard that I got them booked. Or sometimes, too, you start an interview with a guest and you get them on it, you talk to them off the air, and it doesn't work out for whatever reason. Scheduling doesn't work out, Or you get them on, you start talking to them, you find out they're full of crap. And they're making stuff up. They're lying. And they don't know what they're talking about. Which is extremely frustrating, you know? And I wanted to get into this whole thing about, I was talking to a guy I've done business with. I was talking to him off the air, and we were talking about this. I'm going to drop that whole thing. Oh, brother. Hey. This show sucks. Well. I did want to talk about that report from Christopher Steele, who is the MI6 private investigator in the UK, who was hired to do the opposition research against Donald Trump in a presidential campaign. Now, I guess I'm going to be a snowflake in a minute. The thing is, let's start with this, okay? Like I said, I used to get offers for interviews all the time, way back from Tiger Woods, because when I was working on all the tabloids, they all knew who I was, you know? People knew who I was during the Tiger Woods thing. It just wasn't public about it. Everyone knew I was working on that case. Inquirer knew, Radar Online knew, all these people knew. So I would be in contact with people requesting interviews, and I would turn them down. And then as time went on, I became like they would send me press releases and stuff about upcoming articles and stories that they were doing. So even till today, and now I get even more, because now press agents and stuff like that send me stuff, and publishing companies send me books. And, they send you, well, this guy's available for an interview and stuff. But I get advance notice of stories and articles that are about to come out, because they send them to me before they publish them. So I have access to a lot of information. I've talked to a lot of reporters. I've dealt with a lot of reporters. And even now doing the show, you meet a lot and you talk to a lot. And I can count on one hand, really, like a guy like David K. Johnson. This guy's a professional. I really respect him, you know. Just off the top of my head, just thinking of somebody who I really respect his work and his professionalism. Now, also, too, in my work as a PI, I've met a lot of people that were former IRS and former FBI. Even the FBI agents we've had on the show here, like the special agent in charge of the anthrax case. These are professional people, you know. And now, when this report by Christopher Steele came out, who's former intelligence, he's a former MI6 agent, now he's a private investigator, he owns a company that does business intelligence. He's hired by big companies. He was hired by a company here in the United States that was doing opposition research, hired this man because of his background, because of his skills, and because of his contacts. Even the FBI, who was it? CNN and another, I forget who it was, but they contacted sources and they said this guy's very respected. Okay. Now, in my personal life, I have a lot more respect for these former, even though, listen, the FBI is not no friend of mine and no friend of yours, and former intelligence, CIA and stuff like that. Defense intelligence. I have a lot more respect for these guys as far as their professionalism in their work than I do for any of these reporters I've met and talked to. So now, when this gentleman comes up with his report and puts his name on that report and his reputation on that report, I got to give that a lot more respect than I do when some clown writes an article for BuzzFeed or I've talked to these clowns over at the BuzzFeed, okay, and Daily Beast. I've talked to a lot of these guys, and a lot of these guys are encourage very little respect, okay? But when you're working with these people who are former law enforcement, former intelligence, they build cases, to go before judges and courts. They have a certain, and plus, you have a certain responsibility. You're holding evidence in your care and custody, and there's a respect for that. And there's a certain respect for that kind of work. And if you don't treat this with seriousness and integrity, you get a bad reputation. People know who the hacks are out there in these kind of businesses. And you don't get hired to do opposition research in a presidential campaign unless you've reached a certain level of professionalism and respect in your work and in your life. And this guy's done that. Okay, that's a fact. But I don't know who this guy is, but it's a fact that he got this job. He didn't sneak into this. Okay, he was hired by other professionals who checked him out. They don't like to hand this money out to any clown that comes along. But you hear these reporters saying, well, this is unverified and it's unsubstantiated. And when we're reporters, we have to have two sources. Well, you know what? Normally, they don't. Okay? That this one man, Christopher Steele, would be their source. Okay? Because it just like, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. This guy, Bill Deere, who wrote a book about O.J. Simpson. Okay, and his theory in the O.J. Simpson case. They report that. That hasn't been substantiated or seconded with two sources that some reporter has to have, because he's putting his reputation on the line and saying, this is what I've come up with. Now, there's a difference between a report that you're going to use in court to convict somebody. It's going to be used as evidence, testimony, okay, and an intelligence report based on Christopher Steele's knowledge, background, and sources, okay? And we need to understand, too, that this 35 pages that's been published is not all one big report. A lot of these were memos and dispatches updating people on new information, things that he was finding out, okay? And a lot of the things that he reports in his memos can be confirmed, okay? One thing, for instance, he talks about Trump's involvement with prostitutes. This is something that we have a litigation in Gloria Allred's office right now, where one of her clients said that Trump offered her $10,000 and that Trump offered her free use of his airplane, okay? Now, in my own experience, I know for a fact that there were women who were peddling pictures of themselves on Trump's plane and Epstein's plane. And by the way, it talks about in these reports that these women are being silenced. They're being paid off and silenced. I've seen that same set of circumstances. Okay? So, and that's from my background and my knowledge and my experience that I'm reporting to you. So if this report from this Christopher Steele is worthless, then everything I say is worthless. And by the way, too, I just consulted on I don't know if I want to talk about it, but oh, God. And this sucks. Anyway. Another thing that we know for a fact, and by the way, Trump has there was another business partner of his that had some boat off the Greek islands that were involved in prostitution. There's been other prostitution. There's a lot of things that Trump modeling agency is a front for prostitution. There's a lot of stuff out there about Trump and prostitution. And this idea is some kind of stretch. It's ridiculous. The guy just decorated the Oval Office with gold carpets and gold couches. So the idea of golden showers is not that far off. Okay. All right, it's not out of the question. The guy's into gold for some reason. We know that. He's got golden faucets at Trump Tower. Well, we got golden shower faucets too. I'm sure he does. All right. By the way, this whole idea that the golden shower thing was a 4chan troll has totally been disproven, and just exactly like I had predicted at the time. It's been totally debunked, and just like I predicted, that because what happened, here's what I know for a fact. The guy, because I don't know how many other hosts out there or YouTubers or all these characters out there have their own search engine optimization company that puts out press releases and optimizes those press releases for you. See, so I kind of have a little background. I understand what it takes okay, to get a story to go viral in 7 hours, right? When this Pizzagate story came out, when this Pissgate story came out about the golden showers, right away this article comes out citing 4chan troll 7 hours later, and suddenly it's all over the place. That when you Google golden showers, the first thing that comes up is this 4chan story. That kind of stuff doesn't happen by accident. Okay? Show me one other 4chan story that comes up when you Google a real story. Doesn't happen. They had that cocked and ready to go. Excuse my language. They had it cocked back, spring-loaded, and ready to go because they knew that week that this story was going to break. Everybody knew. Hey. Give me a break here. It's ridiculous that we even have to discuss this. So we know that. Okay? But here's something that I can know about, that I can tell you about personally. The events of November 2nd. If you go to the last page of that report, and you go back to my old shows, you can listen to it. And maybe you won't think that Ed Opperman is such an idiot. Okay, or such a stupid idiot all the time. Doesn't know what he's talking about. Because I seem to know something every now and then. On November 2nd, the plaintiff in the lawsuit against Epstein and Trump was going to have a press conference with Lisa Bloom. Now, again, Lisa Bloom doesn't take on clients, that are BS, and I know this stuff for a fact because they were all involved in all the Trump and the Trump. They were involved in all that stuff. Not Trump and Tiger Woods. Okay, so I know they don't take BS cases. Like everyone says, oh, they're ambulance chases. They do press conferences. They'll just do anything. They don't care. Everybody's a liar. But the guy with the fake university and the orange hair and the orange skin and the wackiness. Everyone else is a liar. On November 2nd, the plaintiff in that case was going to do a press conference, and it was going to be live streamed on live stream. And it was going to be done at Lisa Bloom's office. Lisa Bloom announced that only a few hours before the conference. And her website came under attack, dedicated denial of service attack, and Livestream, the Livestream company, came under attack and was shut down. When this happened, this was such an overwhelming attack, so spontaneous on such short notice, that I said at the time, I said, well, there's no way that this is on the level of government-sponsored cyber attack. This isn't something that happened naturally. This isn't something that happened when a bunch of guys, emailing each other on a Reddit or a 4chan or one of those where those guys got together and shut things down. This is something on a much larger scale. Now, if you look at page 35 in Christopher Steele's memos, the Golden Shower report, he talks about a company called Webzilla. And it was an Eastern European company, right? He talks about, which is an internet company. And he talks about how this company, Webzilla, had the ability to redirect porn traffic to someone's site. Now, the only purpose of that would be to shut down a site. See? So, again, if you go back, I talked about this when it happened way back in November. And now we have corroboration in this gentleman's report here that, what do you call it? Confirmed that Trump had access to this kind of ability to shut down a website and live stream. So you might want to take a look at that, okay? Now, one thing you might want to take a look at, too, is when Trump did his press conference where he was so masculine and so manly that made these men wet their pants in admiration. Oh, they wet their pants with the golden showers. Okay. Anyway, I cracked myself up. If you notice Mr. Trump's denial, and first of all, he didn't deny it all day long until he got to the press conference. But if you notice his denial, he says, well, you know what? The reason I tell all my security guards and all my people when we travel that all these hotel rooms have cameras in them. So I would never do that because there's cameras in all these rooms. Quote unquote, there's cameras in all these hotel rooms. Says the man who owns a bunch of hotel rooms. Okay. Here's the guy that owns hotels. And he's blurting out, all these hotel rooms have cameras in them. And by the way, they do, okay? They have cameras in there, and it's legal for them to have them in there because what they claim is, they claim that they have the hidden cameras in these rooms here in Vegas, all over the place. Okay, all these big new fancy hotels, they all got them in there, I'll tell you that right now. And they claim it's to catch the housekeeping from robbing people. Somehow they have a way when the housekeeper, that the cameras go on, when the housekeeper leaves, the cameras go off. They don't know who else is in there. Okay? But this court case, there's litigation out there where they have these films in hotel rooms and they're about the housekeepers. So he's right. They do have cameras in all these rooms. But why is he bringing that up? Because he's got blackmail dirt on these people too. Now, just stop and think. There's no doubt that this thing was published. Okay, and by the way, too, Christopher Steele, he did this report. He sold it to the Republicans, but he had some kind of a clause in his contract. He was also allowed to sell this information. Sometimes you can do that. You can work for somebody, but say, listen, now that I've obtained this information, I retain the right to sell this further, from a profit, make my own profit. I've done that in certain cases too as well. I had a big case I told you about a few times about where I cracked that big blackmailing prostitution case up in the Northeast. There was another one I had where I had obtained some information and to be used in one lawsuit, and I knew that there would be a series of lawsuits after that, and I wanted to sell it to all those cases too. So I worked out a deal where I could sell it in every litigation separately. So that's not unusual. So this guy made a deal where he could sell it to the Republicans, but then later on he sold it to the Hillary Clinton camp. But if you notice, nobody used it. They held it back, right? Now, my theory that I have about how Trump used his blackmail juice from the material that was on Wienergate's, Anthony Weiner's laptop. He somehow got access to that. You hear Eric Prince, who, by the way, is the sister of this woman who was just appointed head of the Department of Education, the woman who wants to give shotguns to the teachers so they can kill grizzly bears. Okay. If you haven't heard that, look it up. Okay. She wants to arm the schools against grizzly attacks. Her brother is Eric Prince, who was the founder of Blackwater, who was a big Trump supporter, gave $2 million to Trump. I mentioned this before. I mentioned all this. I talk about all this in the past. Okay? So if Trump used blackmail dirt to get the Clintons to throw the election, that's my theory. I have no hard evidence on that. That's a theory based on my knowledge and experience and firsthand knowledge of some of the people involved in all this. The Clintons can't turn around and say, well, we got this dirt on Trump. Right? And they don't want to throw out all the stuff they have on Trump. They just want to do a shot across the bow. They want a warning shot. Well, the warning shot is what? Hey, Trump, we got videos of you with prostitutes and golden showers. But we all know there's much more deeper dirt on all these characters behind the scenes. Hey, I'm exhausted. Now I guess I'm a snowflake. Hey. I don't know. You know what? I'm just going to end it there. Okay, I'll play a little ad and we'll start. Pierce Redmond has a show tonight where he has Tom Secker on and Abby Martin. And now a word from our sponsors. Did you know that 30% of all people on online dating websites and personal ads are either married or in a monogamous relationship? 30%. If you suspect that your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend may be cheating online, go to emailrevealer.com. At our online infidelity investigation. You give us their email address, and we can trace it back to online personal ads, dating sites, and social networks. We can even expand the investigation and find them cheating on escort service sites or even porn sites if they're registered to porn sites and swinger sites. So check out emailrevealer.com if you suspect your spouse is cheating, and check out our online infidelity investigation. William Ramsey is a producer here at the Opperman Report, and he's just come out with a new book, Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. Now, he just sent me a copy of this book. Oh, boy, it's about 2 inches thick, and there's a chapter on just about everybody in this book that you can imagine. The Beatles, and Jack Parsons, everybody's in here. It's incredible. And I definitely recommend this book. There's a bunch of pictures in here, too, of all these people and different chapters and information. Anton LaVey and people I've never heard of, too. There's a whole bunch in here. JFC Fuller. I don't know who he is. But it's great stuff by our producer here, William Ramsey. So check out Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. You can find it on Amazon.com, or you could find it in the OppermanReport.com bookstore. We have an urgent bulletin. It seems that the group Strawman is still on the loose. It has been confirmed that Strawman are Canadian, okay, and that authorities are asking people to stay indoors, lock your doors and windows until this group can be dealt with. You could find more information about this group of Canadians, at strawmanmusic.com. You can have your ad played here. Okay, we're looking for sponsors. Okay, in fact, we desperately need sponsors right now to take this show to the next level. So you can have your your ad played here, read live, like I'm doing now, so artfully. Or we can even work up a little jingle for you with some music and stuff like that and play it here. You have no idea how inexpensive it would be to have your ad played on the Opperman Report on 7 stations live Friday night and another 7 stations live on Saturday night, plus replayed every day of the week on different stations, and then archived on YouTube, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and all different kinds of podcasts, Pod This and Podbean, all different kinds of places who archive the show for us. And on those archives, your ad would play indefinitely, forever. You also get a little banner on OppermanReport.com. You get a mention on the air, you get a little interview on the air, and all kinds of fun stuff if you sponsor Opperman Report. We have an opportunity to get this show on a major AM/FM station in California. We've been approved. So if you want to sponsor us into that, so incredibly inexpensive that your ad would be heard by the range covers 5 million people in population where your ad would be broadcast, and all these other stations would be thrown in for free. So really affordable prices to sponsor OppermanReport.com. Get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You can get a copy of that book at emailrevealer.com, or you can get a copy of that book. Now it's back up on Amazon.com. How to Become a Successful Private Investigator by Ed Opperman. And this book has been updated a little bit from the previous book that we had that was available to our wonderful listeners. Okay, yeah, welcome back. Okay, we're back. One thing I wanted to leave you with before I go, because in my notes there's all kinds of stuff. I don't want to talk about that. But one thing, I talk about how I talk to people off the air and stuff like that. A lot of stuff doesn't make it onto the air. I had a conversation with someone involved in the prosecution of George Zimmerman and the death of Trayvon Martin. And as you know, I had a long history with that, a lot of involvement in that case. And I always wondered why the defense did not pursue a certain theory of defense in that case. And I watched the whole thing, and I was trying to figure it out. And I said, well, why didn't they go? Why didn't they go after this whole thing? And it's been confirmed to me why, and it explains a lot. Now, I'm trying to get this guy to come on here because I don't want to mess it up. So, and I don't want to say too much right now, but that's going to be big. That's going to be a really big show if I can get this guest to come on. So that's just something I want to throw out there to you. All right, guys, good night. Coming up next will be Porkins Policy with Pierce Redmond. I apologize for the after show tonight. I know it really sucked, but I'm all over the place. But if you like the show, you want to support what we're doing here, you can send a donation, oppermanreport@gmail.com, or you could become a member at oppermanreport.com. Thank you. Good night.